Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a video that might really interest you. Believe me, you won't regret watching this video. Let's watch this video together.
Everyone interprets that message the same way these days. Religion in this country even seems weaponized at times. As a man of deep faith, which you obviously are, does that frustrate you at all?
The followers. And there was injustice in that. And, you know, anytime you see injustice taking place, Jesus is not going to be happy about that. And so
to appreciate it. You can be an atheist and love the show, and we get letters and messages from atheists all the time saying,
Jonathan Roumie of The Chosen has gained wide attention for his portrayal of Jesus and his unashamed confession of faith. But in this very interview with Pixie Eye, what the host didn't expect was how he carefully dismantled their atheistic points of view after they intentionally used this particular clip from a series out of all others. Take a look.
It is on its way to becoming one of the most popular TV series of all time, with a fan base all over the world.
We are talking about The Chosen. Here's a look.
You Pharisees, you cleanse the outside of a cup and the dish, and then you eat and drink food that goes into a body that inside is full of greed and wickedness. You fools! Did not he who made the outside make the inside also? But give as alms those things that are within.
Now, why would the hosts use that particular clip as an opener to the interview? And most importantly, what's the implication behind that very clip? Before we get into that very question, let's quickly analyze how the actor dismantled their questions one by one. And by the end of the day, you'll see why this wasn't just an interview, but an outright interrogation. They tried to make Jonathan admit that why he played Jesus in the TV show was only because that's all he ever was, a character, a figure from an old book. But that wasn't all. They pressed further, asking if the pressure hadn't ever weighed on him. And what pressure exactly were they asking about? Watch out.
And Elizabeth Tavish, who portrays Mary Magdalene. Good morning. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Congrats on the popularity of the show.
Thank you.
It's a huge deal.
It's wild.
We were just talking in the break. I have to know, do you guys feel this added pressure playing these enormous characters, Jesus and Mary Magdalene?
I think I felt the pressure pretty early on. And then after a little bit of reflection, I realized that I'm here playing this role for a reason. You know, I think God put me in this position for a very specific reason, and so I have to accept that and just do the best I can with the gifts and talents.
Story, obviously, one of the best stories you're pulling from the Bible. You're relatable and you're aspirational, so you kind of have the best of both worlds. People are obviously interested in the characters, Mary Magdalene and Jesus, but now fans are really interested in you guys as people. How has that been?
You know, fame is a double-edged sword. You know, it gets you certain benefits in society, and other times you have unexpected encounters with people that are super passionate about the show, and some of them are more appropriately timed encounters than others. But at the end of the day, I think you just have to, you know, just be present with people and have grace and kindness. And when people are sort of occasionally overstepping boundaries of space, you just try to gently let them know that, you know, I'm Jonathan, I'm not Jesus. So, you know, I kind of need my own sort of space as a person, as a human being. Even Jesus needed space. That's why he went off to pray by himself so often, because he was swarmed by people. So it's something that in a sort of a microcosm, I'm beginning to understand.
Well, we know the stories from the Bible are obviously deep. This season is going to take an even deeper tone. Can you kind of guide us into that, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think we start to see the beginning of the end of Jesus' ministry on earth, and how he gets to that point, how we get to the inevitable crucifixion.
You play Jesus.
You?
So are you finding that people are having a little bit of trouble in separating you from the part?
Ourselves in these characters, like any great TV show, you start to identify, and then the fact that it's this story, that it's the greatest story ever told, now brings it to a whole other level. And they're like, oh, I can relate to Jesus in a way that I never thought I could before.
Zach came to me months ago and said, I'm Catholic. You got to watch this show about Jesus. I was like, I know a lot about Jesus. And I don't, obviously.
I think there's always more to learn.
There's always more to learn. And what that's, you're so profound. I think what was fascinating to me is growing up.
So you've been playing Jesus on The Chosen for 5 seasons now. What sort of conversations did you and Dallas have initially about the kind of Jesus that you wanted to show? Because your Jesus is, it's a very different portrayal than Jim Caviezel's in The Passion of the Christ, or Willem Dafoe's in The Last Temptation of Christ, or you know what else is a good one, but also very different than yours is Max von Sydow.
Oh, yeah.
The greatest story
Very
ever
austere.
told.
Mm-hmm.
But all of those Jesuses or Jesi, I don't know what they would, in some ways, contemporary feeling Jesus.
I think what makes it feel like that we have, that all of those other portrayals didn't have access to, was the format of time in long-form storytelling to build characters and build relationships over episodes. You're seeing the nuances of his character, his quirks, the things that nobody's ever taken the time to explore are the humanity of these characters, the day-to-day of these characters. And so if you believe they existed, and I do, they were human beings. And then he goes through it. I'm like, okay, I get that.
I'm just in my head, I was thinking of that sort of cliche of an actor saying, oh, what's my motivation? And in your case, the answer, well, you got to bring about the salvation of the world. Play it like that.
Saving souls. I gotta save more souls.
And so the decision was made that you were going to do The Chosen. Before that, maybe scuffling is too strong of a word, but you were just sort of a jobbing actor.
Struggle busing.
Struggle busing. How does it happen that a struggle busing actor makes it big playing Jesus?
I think that the path to that is absolute and uncompromising surrendering to a higher power, things that are beyond my control.
What does your faith allow you to give to the role that a non-believer or a non? You know, it's interesting because you're saying that who you are allows you to play the role of Jesus with a particular authenticity. Do you feel that someone who is a non-believer could not be able to give?
I feel that it lends an authenticity to the role that allows me to understand more of why Jesus did the things he did and said the things he did than somebody who is completely unfamiliar. And I think I struggle to follow Jesus like anybody else who considers themselves a Christian. But the struggle is part of it. And I think God knows what we struggle with, but we're still challenged to do what he would do in those situations. And I think because I actually believe that seems to have lent me a kind of credibility and an authenticity in approaching the character that maybe people haven't seen.
The idea that you're getting that sort of attention combined with the fact that you're getting it for playing Jesus strikes me as a potentially psychologically and spiritually combustible situation. Does it feel that way to you?
No, because I recognize that none of this is about me. I don't matter in the grand scheme of things. And so I recognize that when I come out to those speeches and people react the way they do, yeah.
You don't matter.
Dust in the wind.
But then also with what you said about feeling like you've been put here for a reason, that you're saying there is something special about you. Those seem to me like somewhat contradictory ideas. How do you reconcile them? And then also, there was never some small part of you that's like, oh, I am special. There's people liking me so because I'm special, and that means that I matter in some way. None of that little sort of ego gratification temptation ever creeps into your head?
I think if I said there wasn't anything at all, I'd be lying. Do I allow it to become my reason for doing what I do? No. So the paradox that you're describing, I guess it is kind of hard to make that distinction. Yes, there's for me a sense of mission, but the mission is about Jesus, in this case with The Chosen. It's about God.
McDevitt says, Jonathan, have you experienced more escalated levels of spiritual warfare the longer you've been in this unique role? What are some of the ways you fight spiritual attacks?
I fight any and all spiritual attacks with prayer, with the Rosary, Divine Mercy, the Angelus, all of those. I feel like I've become more hyper aware of spiritual warfare, and I've probably sensed more attacks. I haven't been struck by lightning, praise Jesus, at this point.
That did happen, didn't it?
Happened to Jim, yeah, while he was on the cross. So I'm praying that doesn't happen.
That's right. We're going to make sure it's a real clear day.
Yeah.
Did he tell you what that was like?
I mean, it's
just crazy.
Yeah, basically that's kind of what the reaction was. It's like I think he's been able to make sense of it as just being part of Christ's suffering. At the end of the day, everything that he experienced, dislocating shoulder, he had heart surgery, he had all these things happen to him, as just offering it up. And those 2 weeks was for the Last Supper, and I had my spiritual director, he came out to be with me, and I was sitting in the hair and makeup chair, and next thing I know, like I get these massive pains, like just shooting up into my ear, and I'm like, is this anxiety? It's like, at one point I had heart palpitations. I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't know what's happening, but I'm just, and I texted my spiritual director, who's in the other room, and he's like, I'm saying a rosary for you right now. And in 15 minutes, it all went away and everything was fine. But I think kind of speaking to what the sort of attacks and things like that, I think the spiritual attacks kind of manifest themselves in so many different kinds of ways. Maybe that's some of it. Maybe that's just physical anxiety. Maybe that's just me trying to do the best I can and not, ruin it for Jesus. So,
Be able to book a job, but I wanted to have a firm technique that I could survive on. And so I trained in Eric Morris's system. And he was, basically a guy that combined a number of different method-based systems together to create like one of the most comprehensive acting systems anybody could ever study, which I use still to this day.
You still use that to prepare for the, how did you apply that to this role? I mean, the challenge is, you don't have the raw stuff that other, you can base it on somebody, you can build a role on a historic figure.
I can't watch video exactly.
No, there's no YouTube of Jesus.
There's no YouTube of Jesus.
Well, there is now on The Chosen, but before there was.
For me, it kind of stems back to the challenges of playing Jesus to begin with. Like, well, how do you do that? Robert Powell once in an interview said, to try to tackle the character of Jesus, I mean, he's unplayable. He's impossible to play. So none of us know what it's like to be divine. We do know what it's like to be human. So the thing that I do is to bring the utmost of my humanity to the role as Jesus, and then let the Lord and the Holy Spirit sort out the divinity aspects of it. So when there are moments in the story, in The Chosen, where we see Jesus, the fullness of his humanity, or he's having, he's experiencing what he would have experienced as a human being, I can only bring my own emotional life to that. And if it's not something that happens just out of, the result of the exchange of dialogue with myself and my colleague, then I have to find a way to stimulate whatever emotion that I think the scene obligates. And then I'll go into my toolbox, and often that stems with sense memory as one of the most fundamental aspects of the method.
You said something, the more you count on God, the deeper he takes you. Where has he taken you in this role?
Oh, I think he's taken me closer to the heart of Jesus. He's taken me to the essence of servanthood and servitude and surrender, really. The series and possibly of my career is wrapping my head around how to communicate what actually happened at the Last Supper in a way that people feel that, as opposed to merely just hearing the words in Scripture, but feel what it is that he meant. and not knowing what exactly that looked like. So the only option I have, whether it's that or it's in the Garden of Gethsemane where he's sweating drops like blood or blood, depending on the translation you read, what generated that? What did that feel like? I have no idea. So I have to surrender that moment and say, God, you have to direct my steps in these scenes because they're beyond my comprehension. They're beyond my ability to infer what you were feeling. Like, Lord only knows. But I'm here, I'm open, I'm a vessel, use me.
Wow, that was a very interesting and amazing video to watch. I want to say a big thank you for staying to the end of this video. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to get notified anytime a video drops. Thank you for being here.